Another way to think about the data collection modes is degree of interview involvement, the degree of contact with the respondents, and the communication channels. We talked about some of this before. But as you make decisions, keep these things in mind, just like the degree of privacy and the technology use. I'm not going into too much detail because you will learn a lot more about this in the data collection course here. But the two approaches that you can keep in mind when selecting mode is what's the appropriate method to choose is often or should be asked at the design stage. So as I said, and what's the theme of this module? You have the research question at the very beginning. You try to get all the relevant target information. You decide on what are the specific variables that I need based on your analysis plan. So now you have a set of requirements, a set of constraints, and you will know how much money you have available, and that will then guide, is it enough to get information, observational data, or process data from administrative records? Or do I need to go out and do my own data collection so that I have all the variables in that particular questionnaire that I'm planning to use? Now, increasingly, there's a combination of modes necessary because you can't reach everybody in the same way, or you won't have everybody covered by the same mode. And then the question is of, do you try to collect the exact same data across all different modes? And we, at least in this group teaching the specialization here favor the approach that you try to maximize benefits from a particular mode. So if you can add a video, if you can add an illustration in a particular mode, do so. The implications of these choices that you make, no matter which data source or mode or method of data collection, have an effect on the possible sources of errors of observation and non-observation. To understand what those are, we have a third module for you that walks you through these specific error sources. When people analyze your data, it is important that you are very explicit on which modes are used. It's much harder to make broad generalization about one mode across all possible topics. So this might depend on a combination of modes in conjunction with a particular topic or a sponsor. And increasingly, like the American Community Survey that I mentioned before, the surveys come as a mix of in a mixed mode design or hybrids of particular modes. Surveying the landscape on what's out there, what's been done, will give you ideas. But for your own research question, you need to go back, think about what do you need, what's your analysis plan, what are the variables that need to go in there, can I get them, how much money do I have, with which particular mode can I work, and then how is that affected by the various error sources, which we'll talk about in Module 3. So I encourage you to think about which mode or type of data collection is best for a survey of members from a professional association, a survey to compare nutrition needs of those below the poverty line, and a survey that measures satisfaction of visitors in the zoo, or elicit attitudes from statements on environmental policies. Very different types. Think about how you would go about finding that information in that landscape of data that we presented to you, and then you can circle back to these kind of examples as you evaluate the quality of each of them.